Hello, my name is Eddie Olivares, and I'm the president of the Rio Grande Valley Amateur Radio Club. And when we're here today at the South Texas All Hazards Conference, we have a booth educating the public on what amateur radio is. In fact, one of the things you need to look into, amateur radio or ham radio has been around for over 100 years. People like Nikola Tesla, Marconi, all developed radio communication over 100 years ago into the late 1800s. So one of the things is that we encourage everyone who's interested in communicating without using your text or without using a telephone, you could get on a radio and you could be able to speak to anybody all over the world. One of the things that's neat is that it requires a Federal Communication or FCC license. You gotta take a test. It's not that difficult. It's not that expensive to take the test. Once you get that license, you can get on a radio and talk to people in Brazil, in China, in Japan, and other parts of the world. Or you could talk to people in Houston, Texas, or in Missouri, or in Idaho. It's a lot of fun. Now, for younger folks who may think that radio is so old-fashioned, now they make all these Arduino kits and everything done with computers that also involves radio communication. So it's for the older guys, but the newer equipment is all the young state-of-the-art stuff that you build in a kit, and all that is so much fun. So everyone says, why do I want to use a ham radio or an amateur radio when I have my cell phone? Well, let me tell you, in a past life, I was an assistant emergency management coordinator here for Hidalgo County, and I responded to assist during Hurricane Rita, Hurricane Katrina, Hurricane Ike. And when you find out, when you're deployed to those areas after a hurricane, the first thing that goes down is internet and cell phones. So there is no cell phone, there is no internet, and there is no way to communicate with each other because those systems are down. So amateur radio gives you an opportunity to get in contact with a loved one or family member without having to rely on electricity or having to rely on internet or cell phones. A cell phone actually is a radio. It transmits on a 1.6 gigahertz frequency. So it's just a different form of radio. So the cell phone is one frequency, and then the amateur radios are other frequencies. So it's basically the same thing. However, is that a cell phone requires cell phone towers and satellite systems to work, whereas an amateur radio just requires the atmosphere to work. So amateur radio is very much related to community service. If you have a local club like ours, the Rio Grande Amateur Radio Club, where we provide ourselves, we actually promote being part of our community. We assist, of course, emergency management during a large-scale event. We have representatives that assist and support emergency operations. But during small community events, say you're having a marathon run, we've actually volunteered to help at the stations along the way with those marathon runners, where we have our radios that we could talk across the whole 21-mile course, and we could communicate if someone got hurt, if someone needed assistance, get on a radio, talk to the next station, say, hey, we need an ambulance here, we need assistance here. So it allows us to communicate quicker and faster. In fact, it's even quicker and faster than a cell phone, because a cell phone, you gotta remember a phone number, or you gotta remember a speed dial. A radio, I just pick it up, push a button, and it works. For me, my background in radio communication goes back all the way to the 1970s for me. It all started with CB radios, which a lot of you don't even know what that is. It's called Citizens Band Radio, 11-meter frequency. But I started on that, and then I became a volunteer firefighter, and we used to use radios all the time. When I was growing up, we had little walkie-talkies that we would talk back and forth to each other. So for me, it was very much part of our life, having radios, either listening to them in music or talking on the little walkie-talkie, doing all those things. But eventually became bigger, where I started seeing how amateur radio could actually help a community, can save lives, can support the system. Like now we're doing like the Amateur Radio Emergency Services, or ARES program, where we actually are supporting firefighters, police officers, the community in communicating the needs of our community with supporting the emergency management teams and be able to communicate for additional resources when cell phones are down, when electricity is down, when power lines are down. Again, my name is Eddie Olivares. I was the former Chief Administrative Officer of Hidalgo County Health and Human Services. I oversaw all public health in Hidalgo County. I also was the Assistant Emergency Management Coordinator for Hidalgo County, serving under Chief Rick Saldana as the Emergency Management Coordinator. I did that, and I worked very closely with emergency management, law enforcement, firefighters, hospitals, and helping coordinate emergency operations, emergency planning. And all the time, emergency communication, including amateur radio, was part of those discussions. Now that I'm retired, I'm here at the South Texas All Hazards Conference. I'm part of the Rio Grande Valley Amateur Radio Club, and I'm looking forward to actually using amateur radio more. In fact, I was on it this weekend, and I was talking to a friend of mine in Brazil. I'm working on trying to get to learn other things, how to communicate. I'm learning something called WinLink, and I'm learning how to use these digital, now all this modern digital communication, and I'm learning that. And believe it or not, one of my teachers is a young person that's only like 20 years old that's teaching me how to do it.